The night always begins with a question, a quiet, unsettling whisper that crawls up the spine. What if you've been giving away the one thing that was meant to make you unstoppable? Most men never hear it, because the world trains them to drown it out. But every so often, one man, sitting alone in the dimness of his room, feels that question strike like a blade cutting through the fog of his habits. And suddenly, everything changes. In that moment, something ancient stirs, a forgotten force he has carried since birth. A force he has lost through impulse, distraction, and weakness. A force that, if contained, could reshape his life from the ground up. This is the beginning of his confrontation with semen retention, though he does not fully understand the weight of it yet. At first, it feels like curiosity, a simple urge to explore why he feels drained, unfocused, disconnected from his own potential, why his days feel like they belong to someone else, why his ambitions seem louder than his actions. Then, very slowly, curiosity sharpens into suspicion. Suspicion turns into fear. Fear transforms into resolve. He starts to realize that the world around him is built on the silent extraction of a man's inner fire. Every scream, every temptation, every unnecessary indulgence is crafted to weaken the core of his masculine energy. He begins to see the trap that has been cleverly hidden in plain sight. The nights grow longer. The silence grows heavier. Yet within that silence, a new intensity begins to rise. He starts to feel the raw truth he has been avoiding. The energy he throws away casually is the same energy that once built civilizations, conquered darkness, and forged unbreakable legacies. This revelation hits him like thunder. It forces him to examine his life with brutal honesty. The missed opportunities, the unfulfilled promises, the half-finished dreams piled like rubble on the floor of his memory. He sees a pattern, no uncomfortable one. And the more he looks, the more undeniable it becomes. His power has been leaking, and he never realized how much it cost him. Slowly, he begins to test his own strength. Not the strength of muscle or physical ability, but the strength to say no to impulse. No to the momentary escape that leaves him weaker. No to the habits that have stolen years from him. And with each refusal, he feels something shift inside. Hold on, before we unlock the real power of semen retention, hit that subscribe button and join our Telegram channel, link in description. We drop daily wisdom, success tools, and energy secrets only shared there. Don't watch from the sidelines, become part of the movement. The first week feels like a storm, the second like a battlefield, the third like a rising sun cutting through fog. His body fights, his mind resists. His urges scream like beasts, begging to be fed. But he doesn't break, not this time, because now he senses a power building that he has never felt before. Stranger still, the world begins to respond. People look at him differently. Conversations feel deeper, sharper. His presence grows heavier, as though the air changes when he enters a room. He begins to understand that this energy, this core vitality affects everything. His posture, his voice, his decisions, his confidence, and the more he holds, the stronger he becomes. But it is not just strength he discovers, it is clarity. Suddenly, he sees his life with a precision that feels almost supernatural. The fake friendships fall away. The draining habits feel intolerable. The laziness becomes a personal insult. He becomes allergic to mediocrity. Every day, he wakes with a sense of mission, something he hasn't felt in years. He begins to feel as though he has been asleep his entire life, and only now is he opening his eyes. Every decision he makes is sharper, more deliberate. His ambitions, once vague and distant, now burn with frightening intensity. He starts working on his craft with a discipline that surprises even him. It feels as though semen retention is not just a practice, but a doorway into a version of himself he always sensed but never reached. But every doorway demands a price. He soon learns that the world does not reward a man who rises above his impulses. It punishes him. The temptations increase. The distractions intensify. Opportunities for weakness line up like traps. The universe tests him relentlessly, as if trying to pull him back into the man he used to be. There are nights when he feels the urge clawing at him, begging, bargaining, reminding him of the comfort he once embraced. Nights when loneliness whispers lies into his ear. Nights when discipline feels like a burden too heavy to carry. Yet something inside him refuses to break. He reminds himself that the world is built on men who surrendered, men who chose pleasure over power, men who lived small, died quiet, and left nothing behind. And he refuses to be one of them. In those hardest moments, he feels another shift, something deeper than confidence, deeper than discipline. A primal energy awakening within his bones. A feeling of being rooted, grounded, unshakable. He feels ready to face storms he once ran from. He feels forged. He begins to notice that life bends around his choices. Doors open. Opportunities appear. People respect him without knowing why. And for the first time, he sees the connection clearly. His retained energy is not just biological, it's spiritual, psychological, and magnetic. He realizes he is becoming a man of gravity. Soon, he reflects on the man he used to be. The man who lived for small pleasures. The man who doubted himself. The man who chased validation instead of purpose. That version of him feels like a ghost. Now someone he buried in silence. As he continues the journey, something extraordinary happens. His mind becomes a weapon. His focus becomes razor sharp. His productivity doubles, then triples. His resilience transforms into something rarely seen in modern men. He no longer flees from challenges. He seeks them. He becomes addicted to rising. He starts to understand a truth that would terrify most people. The greatest version of a man emerges not from comfort, but from self-control. Not from indulgence, but from discipline. Not from surrender, but from restraint. And restraint, he learns, is not weakness, it is the mastery of power. With every day of retention, he feels like he is marching deeper into himself, exploring territories he never knew existed. The boundaries of his abilities stretched, his creativity ignites. His inner voice grows louder, more authoritative, more certain. He feels himself evolving. But evolution always comes with a cost. Sometimes that cost is isolation, sometimes it is discomfort. Sometimes it is the weight of carrying responsibilities others would crumble under. Yet, he embraces it all. Because he is no longer chasing pleasure, he is chasing destiny. He begins to understand why ancient warriors practiced retention, why spiritual masters guarded their energy like treasure, why kings and leaders cultivated discipline before ruling nations. They all knew what he is discovering now. A man's seed is more than a fluid. It is concentrated willpower, life force, and creation itself. Holding it makes him formidable. Suddenly, his goals feel small compared to the man he is becoming. He revisits his ambitions and upgrades them. He stops asking for an average life. He demands something extraordinary, something legendary, something worthy of the power he now holds. The world cannot ignore him anymore. He becomes a man who makes decisions without hesitation, a man who walks with purpose, a man whose silence carries more meaning than the words of weaker men. People feel his presence before he speaks. They listen when he does. His energy becomes undeniable, and then, the biggest transformation arrives, quietly, almost unnoticeably. He becomes the type of man who inspires others without trying. A man who sets standards through action, not words. A man who embodies strength instead of performing it. He becomes the man he once needed. There comes a day when he looks in the mirror and finally understands. Semen retention didn't just give him energy, it revived his essence. It resurrected the warrior within. It reminded him of who he could be if he refused to betray himself. He no longer craves validation. He craves progress. He no longer chases pleasure. He chases greatness. He no longer sees himself as a victim of habit. He sees himself as the architect of destiny. And with that realization, a final truth dawns on him. Retention is not about withholding. It is about becoming. Becoming disciplined. Becoming powerful. Becoming untouchable. Becoming a man who no longer bows to his weaknesses. A man who does not run from his shadows. A man who commands his own life force. A man who stands unbroken. When he reaches this understanding, something within him locks into place. A new identity forms, one carved from discipline, sharpened by purpose, fueled by retained energy. He becomes a lighthouse in a storm-filled world, a force of clarity, a signal of what men were always meant to be. He understands that the journey never truly ends. Every day is another test, another battle, another chance to rise or fall. But now he knows something he didn't before. He will not fall, because he has tasted his own potential. And once a man tastes that, he can never return to who he was. If this video gave you real value, tap the thanks button. Your support helps me keep creating deeper content like this. Every thanks is a spark that keeps this mission alive. Your support means more than you know. The path of retention has become his path of rebirth. A rebirth into strength, into confidence, into dominance, into destiny. And no matter how difficult it becomes, he will not step off it. Because this path, though brutal, is the only one that leads to greatness. He has become a man who protects his energy like a king guards his throne. A man who channels every drop of discipline into building a life of power. A man who sees challenges as fuel and setbacks as strategy. He has become the type of man others remember. And as he walks into the future, calm, focused, fiercely alive, he carries with him the truth that changed everything. A man who controls his seed controls his destiny. A man who controls his destiny becomes unstoppable. A man who becomes unstoppable shapes the world.